City Commission meeting. Madam Clerk, do we have a quorum?
Yes, Mayor.
All right. It is my turn to do pledge of allegiance and invocation. Can you stand with me? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow with me. Dear God, thank you for giving us today. Thank you for giving us this great country to live in, which allows us both to practice our freedoms but also practice self-governance. And thank you for watching over our first responders as they tirelessly seek to protect our community. Please be with us as we meet today, and please help us be wise as we make our decisions. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Was there any changes to the minutes that anybody saw? And if
They
you
look
don't see
good.
any, they'll
Yep.
stand as approved. All right, we'll go on with that. Next, we have public comment. This is a time where the public can come and present to the commission. If you don't have something that's already on the agenda, we ask you to, if you do have something to say, limit yourself to 5 minutes, and please state your name when you come up. So is there any comments from the public? Doesn't sound like it. All right.
Item 6A, the governing body is asked to consider and allow the mayor to proclaim March 2nd, 2022 as Read Across America Day in Garden City, Kansas.
I'll make the motion to approve the proclamation as presented.
Okay, Commissioner Cessna makes a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Is there any discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes, and I believe I will be giving that on March 2nd at a school.
Mhm.
So I'll read that then.
Item 6B, the governing body is asked to consider the following requests from Bonita McClure, Executive Director, Beef Empire Days, Inc. 1, waiver of the $2,500 carnival deposit fee and $300 per day daily fees from March 20, 2022 through May 29, 2022. And to allow under section 6-335 and 6-133, the possession, consumption, and sale of cereal malt beverages or alcoholic liquors on the sidewalks, streets, and public park areas, specifically Stevens Park on Saturday, June 4th, 2022, from 5 to 10 p.m. for beef, beer, and boots. All of the rest of the items in the attached memo are things that could be administratively approved, Mayor and Commissioners. So these are the ones that are for the Commission's consideration, and they're consistent with the requests of past years.
Okay. You wanna come up
Did you-
and give us a,
I am Bonita McClure. I'm the Executive Director of Beef Empire Days. I hope you appreciate the fact that I'm asking permission before we go ahead and do the carnival this time. I learned
sure.
something.
Yeah, and your second year.
There
That's
you go,
awesome.
there you
Thanks.
go. This will be year number 54 for Beef Empire Days. We have some new and exciting things planned. We're bringing some new events in. We are asking that the carnival waiver be granted as it has in the past. We are expecting the big full-blown carnival as in years past, which I think will be a real benefit. Beef, Beer, and Boots is an event that we've had for, this will be year number 4. Downtown Vision is a partner with us in that, and they'll be seeking the liquor license. But this came along with our special request for all of the different events that we presented. Just a sneak peek, because I can get it in, we are taking chuck wagons back to Stevens Park.
Oh, excellent.
And we're really excited about what that can do for us. So we ask for your consideration for these 2 items, and we thank you so very much for the cooperation of the city and all the city people. They've been great walking me through all of this. So, thank you.
Yeah, I'll make the motion that we approve the request as presented before the commission.
we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Under report of the city manager, Mayor Dick is going to be the representative from the Sales Tax Oversight Board, and he'll present the annual report from the 2017 Sales Tax Oversight Board.
All right. Thank you. I'm going to read through the whole thing because it does give some good background if you aren't familiar with the whole process that this is going through. So it says, greetings pursuant to an interlocal agreement between the City of Garden City, Kansas, and a municipal cooperation and the Board of County Commissioners of Finney County, Kansas, dated 15th day of July 2017. This board committee was established and was charged by the governmental agencies to periodically review sales tax receipts and to ensure distributions and expenses that have been used and paid in accordance with the sales tax issuance approved by the electorate on November 7, 2017. The board will annually present their findings to the governing bodies of the city and the county. So the history of the meetings, the board met for an organization meeting with the financial review on February 1st, May 3rd, and November 1st of 2021. The board met on February 7th, 2022, and received an update information from the staff regarding receipts and disbursements in 2021. The annual receipts are coming in higher than projected. The zoo projects have been completed. Construction on Jenny Barker Road is nearly completed. The gun range project is underway and is expected to be completed in the spring of 2022. The third fire station has contracted with an architect and plans are in the process of being reviewed. The committee approved for the city to provide internal funding of the sales tax projects. This secures adequate cash flow for construction. The interest rate for the fund was set at 0.05%. The City Commission approved a resolution to that effect on December 15, 2020. A second ordinance and resolution were approved by the City Commission on December 7, 2021, authorizing the issuance of temporary notes to allow for internal financing within the city, including payment for sales tax projects with repayment of temporary notes being made from the .30 sales tax revenues. The board is proud to advise the city and county that the accurate and reliable information has been provided by staff, and the board has moved to approve receipts and distributements. I was doing good until I got to that word.
That's a hard one.
Disbursements for 2021. All sales tax revenue collected from the subject sales tax has been received and utilized as authorized by the electorate according to the election mandate approved on November 7, 2017. The actual financial reports are available from staff at your request. This board is scheduled to meet 4 times in 2022, and this will make its annual report to you following the board meeting set in February 2023. In addition to these meetings, the board requests to be notified when the project bids are presented at City Commission meetings. As of the date of this report, the following progress has been made regarding the preparation and construction of the projects approved by voters in 2017 as follows. Construction project Jenny Barker Road. Construction began on June 22nd, 2020, and the project is completed except for some minor work and the addition of signalization. Improvements at Lee Richardson Zoo. The projects at the zoo include improvements to the primate and flamingo exhibits, as well as improvements to the zoo hospital. These have been completed and occupied. Indoor shooting range. The project is underway and is expected to be completed in the spring of 2022. Third fire station to be located the city's east side. An architect was contracted in 2021, and work on the design of the third fire station is underway. The expected costs for the project have increased substantially from what was initially expected and budgeted. Due to this, the scheduled opening of 2024 may be delayed. Should you need any further information or have any further inquiry, please advise Sales Tax Oversight Board, and Jerry Schultz is the chairman. That is a lot of reading.
Thank you.
You did good.
So I guess any questions or anything about so things are going pretty good. Revenue collections are higher than expected, so.
Yep.
Or projected, higher than projected.
Items B, C, and D are staff reports. 2 of them annual reports from the fire and airport, and then a monthly report from Lee Richardson Zoo. Staff's available for questions on those if you have them. Otherwise, I'll draw your attention to the meetings of note. The dates for the Western Kansas Congressional Reception in Washington, D.C. have been identified, and I would certainly be interested in the Commission's interest in attending that. The Commission decides kind of amongst itself who all goes. I would say practice in previous years has largely revolved around the mayor and vice mayor going, but I mean, that isn't a rule, and you all can kind of decide amongst yourselves how you want to do that. So if there's an interest, I would say, please let Seelan know, and we can queue that up for the commission's discussion in consideration maybe at the next meeting. We definitely want to get kind of out in front of airline tickets and room reservations.
Right.
I think we're ready for the appropriation ordinance, so if there's no other no questions on that, then I believe the appropriate motion would be to approve appropriation ordinance number 2549-2022A.
I move to approve appropriation ordinance number 2549-2022A.
Second.
Right, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes.
We're now at item 10A. This is the governing body's consideration and approval of a motor vehicle nuisance resolution at 410 Evans Street. If approved, it would be resolution number 2902-2022.
Okay, good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
Come for you for consideration to be able to mitigate a nuisance. We have an abandoned vehicle. It is located at 410 East Evans. The Chevy S10 pickup truck is the one that we have identified. We have notified the property owners at 410 Evans Street on 2 occasions, September 29th, 2021 and November 23rd, 2021, in accordance with our 38-137 of the Environmental Code of Ordinances. The attached resolution will allow staff to mitigate the environmental nuisance of this property. Alternatives are: number 1, the governing body may approve the attached resolution. Number 2, the governing body may not approve the attached resolution. Staff recommends approval of the resolution alternative number 1. Any fees and costs associated with this abatement will be charged against the lot or parcels of the ground in which the motor vehicle is located. Any questions on this?
I move to approve resolution number 2902-2022.
Right, there's a motion
I'll second.
and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes.
Item 10B, also a motor vehicle nuisance resolution. This would abate a violation at 1532 North 12th Street, and if approved, would be resolution number 2903-2022.
Okay, so we have 1532 North 12th Street. We have 2 vehicles. We have a white small SUV and a silver sedan. Property owners of the residents have been notified by 2 letters sent December 14th, 2021 and January 31st, 2022 in accordance with 38-137. In both cases, no one has asked for any kind of a hearing to the governing body. The attached resolution will allow staff to mitigate the environmental nuisance on this property. Alternative number 1 is the governing body may approve the attached resolution. Alternative number 2, the governing body may not approve the attached resolution. Staff recommends alternative number 1, approval of the resolution. And again, any abatement costs that incurred will be charged against the lots or parcels on which the vehicles are found.
Is there a motion for this?
I'll make the motion to approve resolution number 2903-2022.
Tim, is there a second?
Second.
It's motion and seconded. Is any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trent.
Item 12A, under new business, the governing body is asked to consider and approve the distribution of the first portion of the $50,000 of AFAC funds as recommended by staff.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. So we got in a total of 5 different requests for these grant funds for a total of $30,000. Staff reviewed all of the applications, found that they fell within the bounds as set by KSA 7941 A04. And I guess for a bit of context, all of these organizations, except for Lidwell-Finney County, have been frequent applicants in the past 5 years. This is what I reviewed. They've essentially had the same applications those past few years. They've all been approved for full, if not more, amounts. The one exception being Lidwell-Finney County, though considering they make recommendations on the second half, I assume that the city has trust in their abilities to conduct health programs. One of these items that I do want to draw attention to is the application from Lidwell-Finney County. You may have noticed a discrepancy between the amount listed on the memo for requested at $6,000 versus what they had on the application, which was $6,120. So this half of the funds can only give $6,000 at a time to one organization, and they can't really apply to the second half since they're the ones who make recommendations, and that'd be a conflict of interest. I reached out to Lidwell-Finney County about the issue, and they clarified that they did intend to request $6,000. $6,120 was the total cost of the project, and they didn't want to sort of misrepresent the project funds. It was essentially a choice between posting something above that limit or making it look like they didn't work the financials out, so they chose the former. But yes, otherwise, staff recommends the full funding for all these. It should be within that budget of $50,000 for this first half, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I appreciate the applications, and so, I mean, really great reading. So with that, I move that we approve the recommendations to award the $30,000 to the total of 5 agencies.
Second, anybody?
Second.
All right, it's been motion and second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes. Thank you,
Thank you.
Stuart.
Item B, 12B, the governing body is asked to consider and approve restriping Campus Drive from Kansas Avenue North to Mary Street from the typical 4-lane section to a typical 3-lane center turn section. Mike?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Quite a lengthy background information here, so bear with me as I read through this. A traffic study of corridors and intersections was completed for the City of Garden City back in July of 2016. Traffic engineers conducted this traffic study for Professional Engineering Consultants, PEC Engineering, and the study looked at several different corridors and intersections within Garden City, with the corridors evaluated for the possibility of what is often referred to as a road diet. The road diet analysis analyzed current pavement widths, traffic counts, the current traffic counts at that time and future, the amount of vehicle crashes, left turn conflict with through traffic, et cetera, et cetera. The traffic study stated that when used appropriately, road diets are a cost-effective technique for accommodating alternative modes of transportation, lowering vehicle speeds and reducing the number of conflict points between vehicles, bicycles, and pedestrians. Improved safety, traffic operations, traffic convenience, travel convenience, and the overall quality of life are benefits commonly associated with road diets. With only 3 lanes designated for traffic movements on a 3-lane section, the remaining pavement could be used for bus routes, parking, or bike lanes, or nothing, whatever would be decided. Campus Drive from Fulton Street to Mary Street is one of the evaluated corridors and was recommended at that time to be restriped from an existing 4-lane section to a 3-lane section. Campus Drive from Mary Street to the US 83 highway bypass is already a 3-lane section. So no direction was provided by the governing body at that time to restripe Campus Drive as recommended in the 2016 traffic study. However, Main Street from Fulton to Kansas Avenue with KDOT approval was changed to a 3-lane section, and a similar discussion was held by the governing body that led to a 3-lane section on the Jenny Barker Road expansion. So to fast forward to today, February of 2022, the community has an extensive commercial development that is in its final stages of design, which is north of Kansas Avenue, east of Campus Drive, and west of Target. This development is known as Legacy Crossing, and when built out, will be a private investment in excess of $30 million. The development consists of at least 6 pad sites, and the current plans consist of a restaurant, bank, consumer retail, hotel, and potential veterans memorial, and in addition to the Tally Trail is slated to go through this development. A traffic impact study was completed in 2021 to determine the traffic impacts of the new development on the city's transportation network and infrastructure. The development will have street connections to Kansas Avenue and McCoy, and at Campus Drive and Harding Street. The study determined that the traffic turning into the new site warrants a southbound left turn lane on Campus Drive at Harding Street, and according to the KDOT turn lane warrants, a northbound left turn lane is also warranted based upon existing traffic. This warrant is based upon the volume of vehicles that would be stopped in the left lane waiting to turn left. There are several options to consider this. The option number 1, and there we have maps attached with your handout there, is the existing 4-lane with no changes would be made. Campus Drive remains as it is with no additional requirements to the developer. You can see that that's where it will connect to Harding, and then you can see where it's going to connect to K156 down below going through this development. Option number 2 is a 5-lane with left turn lanes. To add a left turn lane to the existing 4-lane section, the developer will need to acquire additional property from the landowners both north and south of the development on the east side of Campus Drive. If this was pursued, it would be beneficial for the city to consider extending this 5-lane section to Kansas Avenue to accommodate the intersection at College and the commercial driveways on the east side. This would require even more right-of-way to be acquired from the businesses along Campus Drive. Option 3 is a 3-lane, no left turn lanes. While these 5-lane sections are ideal scenarios, alternatives to this widening were also considered and discussed due to the right-of-way constraints. If the beforementioned road diet was implemented on Campus Drive, left turn lanes would then be inherently provided at the site to remove the left turning vehicles from the through lanes of traffic. To more closely replicate the 5-lane warranted section and reduce the impact to through traffic. The city's engineers recommend including right turn lanes at the site under this scenario. The developer's preferred method of incorporating the previous mentioned road diet is that it is the developer's understanding that the left turns are warranted at Campus and Harding, and agrees that implementation of the road diet would inherently provide the required left turn lanes. However, the developer's consultant then studied the intersection with Campus as a 3-lane section to see how that intersection operates if right turn lanes were warranted. Based upon the KDOT right turn lane warrants, right turns are not warranted in that particular section. A lot of turns and a lot of options and a lot of diets going on. Option 4 is the 3-lane with right turn lanes. The developer is requesting the governing body consider the restriping of Campus Drive to a 3-lane section with no right turn lanes due to the right-of-way constraints of widening Campus Drive as depicted in option number 3. However, if it comes down to a decision that implementation of a road diet is acceptable, but the discussion centers around whether right turn lanes are warranted or not, the developer is willing to discuss the right turn taper with the city as a compromise to the full right turn lanes. So should the governing body agree with this request, then the responsibilities of the developer and that of the city would be spelled out in a development agreement that would come before the governing body at a later meeting. So the alternatives that we put in is number 1 would be to require no changes to Campus Drive, just leave it like it is, let them build their intersection, and that's that. Or number 2 would be to require the developer to complete the full 5-lane warranted section, obtaining the property on what they need to get that in. Number 3 would approve the restriping of Campus to a 3-lane section with no right-hand turn lanes required. And option 4 would be approve the restriping of campus to a 3-lane section with a right-hand turn lane as required. Or number 5 is you could direct staff to continue to work with the developer for some sort of alternative solution. Recommendation that we have is that staff would normally recommend alternative number 2, and that is the results of the traffic impact study should be followed, and that the developer is responsible for all the costs associated with implementing the recommendations of the traffic impact study. However, the adverse impact to existing businesses on Campus Drive with this recommendation is not the best solution in the totality of that option. Therefore, staff recommends alternative 4, that the governing body approve the restriping of Campus Drive to a 3-lane section with right-hand turn lanes required. And as a fiscal note, the fiscal impacts to the city have not been fully vetted, as this would be outlined in the development agreement. Should you choose to move forward with one of these options, we'll figure that out, and that would be presented during a development agreement meeting. And I'm happy to try to answer any questions that you may have. We also have representatives from SMH, the developers engineering firm. We also have Wilson Engineering here representing the city engineering, so more than happy to try to answer questions if there are.
Well, I know that, and then so I'm curious about the developer. I mean, what their option, is there one that they favor more, or is it the option 4, is that what you're talking about? Or would they have to obtain more land?
The developer would rather have just a 3-lane section with no right-hand turn lanes. That's their preferred option. Our recommendation is 3
Because of
lanes
that.
with the right-hand turn. But I can certainly let the SMH try to answer them questions if you'd like. And if not, that's fine
Well,
too.
You know, I'm looking at this, and if we make it 3 lanes in that area right there, as they're coming off of Kansas, for those businesses right there, it's gonna make, we're creating almost looks like we're creating a bottleneck. Can we make an option number 5? Well, you said option number 5, but another option where it's 4-lane, but have the right-hand turn lane? Because it's gonna bottleneck up those businesses as people are trying to turn into those, or trying to turn out of those businesses, it looks like. Because right now, with the 4-lane, people can turn out and you still have traffic moving, correct? But if we stripe it for 3, it almost is going to create more of a bottleneck there for those businesses and people trying to get out of those areas. Almost seems like we're going to have an issue with traffic along that area if it's not 4-lane. I'm just throwing that out, you know, and then having the right-hand turn lanes into the new development.
Would that cause an issue with not having a left-hand turn then? Because we wouldn't have a dedicated left-hand turn out of that. Like if we're going on.
Well, and I'm curious
hard.
also about the speed of, I mean, are we going to keep the road the same speed, or are we going to slow down the traffic? Because I mean, obviously, we're hoping that this is a really busy development for them also. So getting people off of that, so option 4, which is the 3 with the right-hand turn lane, cutting into other people's, the property, like you said, a 5-lane, there's no way. I mean, it would really hinder those businesses. But option 4 with this right turn lane, but it looks like we'd have to acquire property also. I know we own some of the property
Yeah,
where that substation is, but we'd have to acquire.
I think, Commissioner, that if that's the position, if that's the direction you're given to do that particular one, we'll work that out in that development agreement as to when that would be put in, that right-hand turn lane going south. You know, the one that cuts across the city's property there. And maybe, you know, I would have to let the traffic engineer people tell us that, is that really need to be that long, or could it be shorter on either side, you know, the right turn lanes, but.
And that's a more manageable right-of-way impact, theoretically. I mean, you never know for sure until you get to it, but you're dealing with a vacant lot rather than, and mostly city property and a little bit of a vacant lot versus, you know, developed commercial property, which obviously is much more challenging. But to Commissioner Sussman's question, now, I guess, can you repeat your concern? I'm not 100% sure how to answer it.
So, okay, we got Kansas, right?
Yes, sir.
So currently it's 4-lane, But you have the convenience store, and then you have Oil Alley. You've got then the Gravity Wellness, and then the restaurant, or that little restaurant area. So you're coming on, if you look at it right now, you've got 4-lane, but then it goes down to 3-lane. Well, people coming out of those businesses, it's going to bottleneck people at those businesses as they're trying to come out, right? So why don't we just make it 4? What I'm saying is just keep it 4-lane, but just make the right-hand turn. So,
The right-hand turn at the development?
right.
So,
Keep it 4-lane, but make the right-hand turn at the development. Then that keeps traffic flowing and people aren't getting bottlenecked.
so really the driver of this conversation is left-hand turns. So on a 4-lane section, when a vehicle's turning left, he's stopping in a through lane, right? And so if traffic's heavy enough, you know, he's sitting there for, you know, it's like driving down Fulton Street, right? And, you know, you're kind of ducking left, ducking right, ducking left, ducking right. And so that creates a safety issue, creates an operational issue, and so that's what those warrants are based off of. Your right turns have an effect, but a much smaller effect, because cars only slow down to, 10, 15 mile an hour, and then they turn. They don't have to wait for traffic coming the other direction. And so a right turn on a 4-lane would help get those right turns out of there, but it's not really solving the true safety issue and operational issue that's been identified by the traffic study. So I guess that'd be my answer to the right turn lane with the 4-lane section up there. As far as people coming out of that business, I don't fully follow there, but I guess it could be something we look at is how that transition is made, from the 3-lane to the 4-lane. We definitely, want to make sure that that there's adequate storage for the through-lane cars. We don't want that queue at the signal to be longer southbound. Northbound, that's free-flowing traffic, so they'll be merging there. And then that left turn will actually provide into those businesses now. There'll be more opportunity for the vehicles turning into the quick shop and turning into the various business there to get out of the lane of traffic. And then the through traffic can continue on,
So the development will have 2 exits and 2 entrances, one off of Kansas Avenue and one off of campus?
Yeah, correct. Yes, sir. Yep, directly across from McCoy. There was kind of a whole iteration that went through with KDOT and stuff previously, and trying to tie to the target signal, and this is kind of a whole nother iteration after all of that.
Adam, when you look at this and you do traffic impact analysis from an engineering standpoint, while driver preference is certainly something you take into consideration, that the safety of a movement is probably the one that you give greater value to. Is that accurate?
Yes.
So on a unprotected left-hand turn off of a private property onto a public roadway, I think the idea of crossing 2 through lanes before you get into the flow of traffic after you turn left versus 1 through lane before you turn into a kind of a shared turn lane. I call them a chicken lane, but the where you can stack and wait and then hit the flow of southbound. Help us understand the traffic engineering logic behind that. Is it that it's safer finding a gap in 1 lane rather than trying to anticipate a gap across 2 lanes of northbound?
That's kind of a secondary benefit
Okay.
of a 3-lane roadway, yes, that you're only analyzing 2 through lanes.
Yeah.
The primary driver is the traffic, the northbound, southbound traffic
Right.
that would normally stop in the left through lane.
And so provide, also, maybe another, is your primary purpose trying to find left-hand turns out of private property if a right-hand turn out of a private, like the unprotected left isn't a guaranteed movement anywhere. Right, 4 lanes, whatever Kansas, like right-hand turns are always the easiest way to go from private property into public right-of-way.
Correct.
Okay.
So you're saying, so like you could pull out of Old Alley or Gravity Wellness and then pull into that center protected area before merging into, to go south?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I can understand when you're talking about right now, if you pull into that inside left southbound lane, you could easily, someone could switch right now. But obviously, yeah, pulling out of there lots of times, it's going right, so.
And that left-hand out of Quick Shop and Oil Alley right now is.
Yeah,
not-
it's hard anyway. Yeah.
It's not advisable.
No. No, it isn't.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would predict that to be easier with this. You know, the traffic's consolidated to one lane, so there's maybe theoretically less gaps, but they're also easier to analyze and hit when they are there. Again, that's kind of the secondary benefit. The main benefit is getting those mainline left turns out of the stream of traffic. And it's a, you know, road diet, kind of one of those things where people driving don't always like it as much because they like to be able to get around people that are going slow,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so on an individual level, it doesn't seem to work as well, or, right? You know, when you're driving, you're like, oh, this doesn't work as well. But from a system and an engineering, you know, analysis standpoint, it does. I mean, it has about 90 to 95% of the capacity of a 4-lane. And I mean, we're less than half on campus of what's considered kind of the maximum capacity of a 3-lane section. And with that, it's also a lot safer, right? So why do people want to get to this lane, get to that lane, so they can go faster down Fulton Street, right? Down campus. And so your speeds on a 3-lane section tend to correspond much closer to the speed limit than they do on a 4-lane section.
And we're gonna make all of campus, from Kansas all the way up to Mary, 3-lane, is
Yeah.
this option.
That's the proposal.
Yes.
That's the proposal for option 4.
And then, so these right-hand turnout lanes, so that would be, so what, is that gonna, Tally Trail is there going south, so will it just cross Tally Trail and then be a roadway, or how is that gonna work? And then how's that gonna impact the developer?
Yeah, Matt, can you scroll up to, okay. Oh, no, go back down. Yeah, right there.
I can read. So right now, Tally Trail crosses here, and then you cross there. That's how it existing. The proposal is that will change and it will cross over one
Okay.
time right there at campus. And then the developer has agreed that in the development, the sidewalks will be 10 foot wide. And that'll be an extension of Tally Trail, so you could go all the way down to Kansas if you wanted to. Or you could still cross here and come right on down, so. But that's where the city would put their traffic, or their pedestrian crossing
Yeah,
right there.
But
So you
you're
don't
cutting into the sidewalk if we go with this option, right?
Right, yeah, the sidewalk would have to
So
be
we'd have to move
rebuilt.
Right, the sidewalk
is
is
what
gone.
you're saying.
yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, the trail system right there is gone.
Right,
Correct.
we just altered it.
Okay.
Yep,
So this would be where we would cross the pedestrian crossing right here.
well,
And
which would be a benefit of not having the right turns, is that you'd have a shorter crossing for that Tally Trail. I mean,
Yeah,
I like to think of the engineering world as it's black and white, but it's not, right? There's pros and cons to anything.
I think not having to cross two streets, across Harding and then crossing over campus. So crossing just across campus, with, like you're saying, where you have the trail. Right now, you have to cross two busy streets, so.
Well, you will, once this is built, it will be just as busy on the east side as it is currently on the west side. Now, to head to Walmart, you won't have to, right? Because you can just stay within the development. To head south on Tally, you'll now have to cross the east approach of Harding. That doesn't exist today, but will.
And it will be a lighted crossing?
No.
Yes.
Oh, well, lighted is in.
Flashing
Yeah,
lights,
flashing.
yeah.
Is it now? I
Yeah,
think it's now.
okay.
It is on
Yeah,
campus
it
right
is
now.
now.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll relocate those.
Okay, okay.
I guess my concern is, I mean, we're making it 3-lane for the commercial area, but why are we doing it all the rest of the way to Mary Street? Are we having issues from Harding on north?
So, I think it was just looked at as kind of an opportunity to implement, to solve the problem here, and implementing the 2016 study, which did identify, I believe, 40 accidents. I'd have to pull up the exact statistics.
Well, he's looking that up. Everything from north of Mary is already 3-lane.
I know.
Yeah, so coming down, we were concerned.
So it's just a
about How
consistency.
we would make
So,
that
yeah.
transition to go from 3 back to 4.
Back to
and
3.
Then back to 3 again as you cross Mary. So with most of those just residential streets that come out off of campus from, north of Harding, we felt that it would be easier to keep it 3-lane.
Yeah, it's usually not ideal to kind of duck back and forth between your different sections. But so the 2016 study identified 71 crashes from Fulton to Mary. So we're really only talking half of this corridor. I don't have exactly where within those two stretches those accidents lie, but they estimate, and there's some complicated algorithms I know that kind of go into coming up with that, but they estimate a 24% crash reduction by implementing a road diet on that stretch.
Any other discussion?
Well, the turning lanes, I mean, when you're coming off of that, is that gonna add any benefit? Or, can we just do a right turn into the development? Do you need the turning lanes, or are they, I'm just curious about the value. Because again, you're making a lot of changes.
So, and this is where, we don't see 100% eye to eye with the developer, and they're kind of requesting something different than what we're recommending. And so, I guess I'll give my take on that, but we definitely want to give them an opportunity to give their take on that as well. So, again, engineering not being black and white, the way we determine whether turn lanes or not, we have what's called warrants. And so, we use KDOT's warrants because we live in a KDOT world. So even if it's not on our street, it's kind of a Kansas accepted standard. And that's based on, the safety again of, vehicle stopping and depending on how much other traffic there is and those things. So there's kind of two different approaches of looking at this. So if you look at it as we need to get the left turns into a lane and out of the 3 lanes of traffic. How do we accomplish that? Well, we could do a 3-lane road diet that gets those left turns out of the lane. Okay, now that we've done that, we analyze it again to see if we need right turn lanes. And they can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's kind of their approach of looking at it. And I will concede, by looking at that, when you look at this development and the traffic volumes based on a 3-lane section, right turn lanes are not warranted, based on KDOT's data. The way we were looking at it was more, it's currently a 4-lane section, so it has two through lanes of travel each direction. Well, really 1.5, right? Because the left lane is half a left turn lane, right? The right lane's half a right turn lane. So you kind of have half a left turn lane, 1 through lane, and half a right turn lane, just for simplicity here, right? It's warranted to have a left turn lane added to that. So then we would have a left turn lane, a through lane, and a combined right through lane, right? So that's option 2 that was shown here today. We're saying that that's not economically feasible. So our approach was, what's the closest we can get to that? What's the closest we can get to what's warranted by this development? And that's where we felt that the 3-lane with the right turn lane is. Because by not having the right turn lane, we now have a left turn lane and a through lane shared right lane. So now we only have part of a through lane. With the right turn lane, we get those right turns out of there, we have 1 full dedicated through lane. We felt that that's the closest to getting that 5-lane section that's warranted. Neither way of looking at it is wrong. They're just 2 ways of looking at it and what the goal is.
Well, I might throw in a non-engineering perspective to this. Leaving the striping the way it is on the road presents a pretty sizable expense to this project. Developer comes in and says, well, if you stripe it to 3-lane, we don't have to do anything. Well, I think there's still a public benefit to traffic flow that the governing body would need to look at, and if it goes down to one northbound lane, then that one northbound lane that used to be two northbound lanes now waits for right-hand turns.
Right,
And
yeah.
Yep.
so,
No, I
That
agree.
would back
I
up.
think the balancing the, you know, community benefit to developing the property and the community benefit to preserving through movements. Because this is actually the only design that provides a through movement. Even on a 4-lane, you wouldn't have a guaranteed through movement on the left lane or a guaranteed
Nope.
through movement on the right lane. So for those wanting to go north and wanting to go north as impatiently as possible, they don't have to wait for a left-hand turn or a right-hand turn. They go straight through. Granted, it is 1 lane now, it's not 2, but you've reduced the potential of being stopped at what will probably turn into a, you know, fairly used intersection for a lot of different movements.
And then my perspective is for continuing a 3-lane striping north is once you're sorted south where the bulk of the traffic would probably be, you wouldn't need to re-sort once you're already in your lane going north. So it wouldn't add any extra complications. The extra complications already happens down south with
With the
getting in there. But
businesses,
but
Yep.
if we had that turn lane, you're taking away one of your complications because you, like you said, there's nobody stopping in that lane turning right.
I like the turn lane, I just want to make sure that, you know, we're preserving Tally Trail, and then also, you know, the whole idea about, I like that we're no longer crossing, you're crossing the one, so I like that. Also, I just, so I appreciate the turn lanes, I'm just, the one coming off north from Harding, I mean, I don't know if that one's warranted, I mean, but if you have to do one, if you have to do the other, if that's the rule, or?
No, it's just a similar thought process.
Okay.
There actually is a lot more turning right onto Harding than I would have guessed, you know, based on the numbers. So it's not terribly different than the amount coming from that's anticipated to go into the site. So it was just, again, just kind of trying to recreate that, the closest we can to the ideal.
The 5-lane, yeah.
Are we at a spot, or do you wanna?
No, that's fine.
Right. Well, I'll entertain a motion.
So I want to make sure I get this one right, so option 4 is the 3-lane with right turns, is that correct?
That's this one here.
Right. Option 4 is this one right here.
3-lane with
With
right
the-
turn.
Here, I'll pull back to the memo.
I'm a new driver, so I don't have much to offer. I-
And the developer is okay with this option? I mean, as far as it being a good alternative? I don't know if they wanted to come up, but,
It would be fine with them.
okay,
The
Yeah.
preference is no right-hand turn lane, but
right.
they would be fine with it if the commission selects.
Okay.
So I move to approve the restriping, alternative 4, to approve the restriping of Campus Drive to a 3-lane section with right-hand turn lanes required.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, there's a motion and second. Any further discussion? The one thing that I will say, just because we need to say it, is the traffic study has that full right turn all the way, and that really does look like it's putting undue burden on the developer plus those other businesses in the way. I don't think that's.
Oh, no,
Well,
and
and personal.
wiping out all of their space,
Yeah.
taking, that's not.
And
even
private
acceptable.
property, that's even further north, so,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I don't think they could keep as businesses.
I don't either.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
That passes 4-1.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Item C, the governing body is asked to consider and authorize staff to submit a Building a Stronger Economy grant application to the Kansas Department of Commerce. Mike?
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, the Kansas Department of Commerce, authorized by the Spark Executive Committee, is offering match funds to address economic development opportunities throughout the state. It's being called Building a Stronger Economy, or BASE, B-A-S-E. It's designed to support infrastructure development to address economic development opportunities statewide with the goal of expanding the state's base of businesses and residents. This opportunity was announced on January 31st of 2022 with a deadline, early deadline of February 28th of 2022. The funding announcements are expected to occur on March 25th of 2022. The first funding allocation of 50% of the award will occur within 30 days of the executed award agreement, and the second 50% of the award would occur no later than January of 2023, following 2 consecutive quarterly reports with successful progress on that project. So staff and the consulting engineers believe that this program may be an excellent opportunity for funding of the water booster pump station that's currently out to bid, and a water tower that is currently being planned to be constructed in 2023. In addition, the improvements at the wastewater treatment plant will be bid within the next 60 days, all of which are tied to the Empirical Foods Project, which meets the definition of what the state's looking for, we believe. The projects need to be linked to economic growth and are geared for construction beginning within 6 months and ending within 2 years. We believe we would meet that requirement as well. The program would provide 75% grant to projects that were approved, thus reducing the city's cost to 25% of any anticipated total. The water booster pump station is estimated to be in the $700,000 range. The water tower is estimated to be in the $5 million range, and the wastewater treatment plant improvements are estimated to be in the $3 million range. If the governing body approves the request for staff to submit these base grant applications, we will focus on completing, and this should actually be 3 applications before the submittal deadline. One for the water booster station and tower, the other for the wastewater treatment plant improvements, and then staff will submit this 3rd application for electrical distribution system improvements that's also required for the Empirical Food Project, and that's estimated in the range of $2.5 million. I do want to point out that in our development agreement with Empirical Foods, they have agreed to pay a portion of these costs already, so those are the total costs, so those numbers would be reduced somewhat. 2 options would be authorize the staff to submit applications to building a stronger economy to the Kansas Department of Commerce, or do not authorize staff to submit those applications to the Kansas Department of Commerce. We would recommend alternative 1, and there is no financial impact to submit the grant applications. If the grant applications were approved, there would just end up being a significant savings to the city in constructing facilities that are already planned and funded. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I appreciate you explaining when you read, because when I read this at first, I'm like, I don't get this, but I mean, with you explaining how Empirical Foods all ties in, that kind of helps a lot too. So thank you for explaining.
You're welcome.
Will this reduce Empirical Foods costs or just the city's costs?
No, I think that will have to be debated, I think, somewhat with Empirical Foods, but I believe it'll reduce the city's cost. The overall project costs haven't changed.
Right.
Empirical could go get grant funds for their side of it if they wanted to somehow. So that's how I view it.
I'll make a motion that we approve the submission of the application for the base to the Kansas Department of Commerce.
I'll second.
All right, there's a motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Item D, the governing body is asked to consider and approve, oh, I'm sorry, I'll wait for Commissioner.
Yeah, note that Manny Ortiz is stepped down.
Item D, the governing body is asked to consider and approve internal financing for the 2017 sales tax projects. Jiren?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners.
Oh,
Previously, staff has presented to the governing body regarding the use of idle funds for various projects and purchases. In December 2021, the governing body approved a resolution and ordinance providing for issuance of taxable temporary notes purchased by the city, the 2021 notes, to provide funds to temporarily finance costs of previously authorized improvements. Those improvements include the purchase of property at 145 Harvest Street, the purchase and remodel of the former Garden City Telegram Building, Jenny Barker Road project, and the shooting range project. $2,500,000 of the approved principal of the temporary note was utilized for the Telegram Building project. $550,000 of the approved principal of the temporary note was utilized for the purchase of the 145 Harvest Street. $1 million was previously borrowed from the Utility Reserve Fund to finance the sales tax project fund to continue the progress of the Jenny Barker Road and shooting range projects and to avoid a cash basis violation. This amount was approved to be paid back with the revenues from the .30 cent sales tax. There will also be a 0.5 or 0.5% interest on these borrowed funds. The third fire station project is in the final stages of planning and is expected to go to bid in 2022. Anticipated costs of this project have increased substantially from the original expectation of approximately $5 million. Current expected costs of the project are approximately $12 million. This increase in cost can be attributed to some modification of the original scope and plan of the project, but a large portion of the increase can be attributed to increases in material and labor costs due to COVID-19. There is concern with delaying this project as inflation of project and labor costs are anticipated to continue to rise at this time. To keep this project timeline on track and reduce the risk of increased costs from further labor and material increases, staff has reviewed several options. Option number 1, consider internal financing, evidenced by a draw on the 2021 notes with an interest rate on the borrowed funds of 0.5%. Option 2 would be to consider issuing general obligation bonds, which would have an associated interest rate, which currently would be estimated at around 2%. And option 3 would be to consider a pay-as-you-go model, which was the original plan with the sales tax revenues, where the .3 sales tax revenues would be collected sufficiently to then finance the entire purchase of the project. Expectation would be that this third option would take several years, and the cost for the project would likely increase further while those funds are accumulated. Staff is recommending the governing body approve internal financing evidenced by a draw on the 2021 notes to reimburse the sales tax project fund for costs associated with the Jenny Barker Road and shooting range projects. This would increase the available cash of the sales tax project fund, enabling the continuation of the fire station construction. This proposal was brought before the Sales Tax Oversight Committee at their meeting on February 7th, 2022. Their recommendation was to utilize internal financing for the sales tax projects of $4 million, of which $1 million would repay the borrowing from the Utility Reserve Fund at an interest rate of not more than 0.5%, with payment back to the city as determined by the Sales Tax Committee upon review on a yearly basis. An annual review by the committee would provide consideration and recommendation to the governing body regarding timelines for repayment. This repayment could occur at any time during the life of the sales tax project fund and would be anticipated to occur after additional real costs of the project have been satisfied. City idle funds have previously been used to fund projects, purchases, or the issuance of temporary notes. When not used for funding city projects and purchases, idle funds are generally invested when deemed prudent. So the alternatives today for the governing body are alternative 1, which would be the governing body may follow the recommendation of the Sales Tax Oversight Committee and approve internal financing of $4 million evidenced by a draw on the 2021 notes to the Sales Tax Project Fund. Alternative 2, the governing body may deny the recommendation of the Sales Tax Oversight Committee and recommend staff to consider a general obligation bond for the project. Alternative 3, the governing body may deny the recommendation of the Sales Tax Oversight Committee and recommend staff to consider a pay-as-you-go model. And staff recommends alternative 1. As a fiscal note, as listed, I've covered the $550,000, which is already taken on that temporary note for the Harvest Street purchase. The current balance on that is $475,000 after the payment from 2022 has been made towards that balance. The original $2,500,000 issued for the Municipal Court Evidence Building has a current balance of $1,900,000 after the payment in 2021 and the payment in 2022 for those funds. And the total estimated cost of the shooting range is $2,500,000, which is currently being paid. Any internal financing to advance the construction of this project and avoid a cash basis violation will be evidenced by a draw on the 2021 notes and reimburse this county .30 cent sales tax collections. As of 12/31/21, the sales tax project fund had paid $1,553,000 for that project. The total estimated cost for Jenny Barker Project Road is $7 million and is being paid through the .3 sales tax projects. Any internal financing to advance the construction of this project and avoid a cash basis violation will be evidenced by a draw on the 2021 notes and reimbursed to the county .30 cents retailer sales tax collections. And as of 12/31/21, the sales tax project fund had paid $6,624,000 for that project. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I know it's a lot. It's been a lot of discussion of this. So any clarification, any questions you have, I'd be happy to answer.
Well, it sounds like we're investing in ourselves if we save the money here rather than, so again, with cost advancing so quickly. So the $4 million, so does it have a specific use or it's just being held when it needs to be used? So I guess that's why you list out several different ones. Is it just combining all of these together in one note now?
It's the 2021 temporary note was issued as an allowance up to $12,550,000 to cover all of these projects. We haven't taken the full balance of that note for the projects because there hasn't been a need as of yet, but we had the authority to do so. So that's where that $550,000 for the Harvest Street the 2.5 for the municipal court, those were taken. But the costs for the Jenny Barker Road and the shooting range have not been taken towards that note yet. So this would be doing that at this time. One of the things, the issues we've run into is that as we've continued with these projects on an advanced timeline to try to get them done as quickly as possible, our cash basis in that fund has been close to zero. And so this is giving us somewhat of a pad to avoid that cash basis violation. We also anticipate that when the fire department, when the fire station gets going, those costs are going to be experienced very quickly. So it'll be a large cost up front in that project. If we were to wait for the revenues to come in and accumulate those, it would take us a few years to get to the point where we had the funds. Like to your question, they're all in the one fund. When they're accumulated and we have enough, who knows if the price would have gone up and we'd have to wait longer. So this is more or less, like you said, shifting some money around in essence, so that we can continue with the project now and then pay it back when the revenues are coming in along this way. And the Sales Tax Oversight Committee did recommend that we continue with this internal financing, but they were somewhat hesitant because we don't know what those numbers are going to look like in the future. They want to review this annually and make recommendations to the governing body regarding whether there will be additional internal financing or whether we begin those repayments of that balance sooner rather than later, or depending on what those sales tax revenues in reality look like over the next few years, they'll make those adjustments as we go.
Well, the repayments were impressive already, what's already been repaid, so that was good that there are repayments being made already, so.
And I would note that our initial budget expected of sales tax revenues has been lower than what we've experienced. We've been experiencing greater sales tax revenues, and so that would help to accomplish some of this repayment maybe faster than otherwise we would have anticipated. But this does help us to not have that question of coming close to zero on these projects and overdrawing that account or that cash basis violation.
I'll make the motion that we follow the recommendation of the Sales Tax Oversight Committee and approve the internal financing of $4 million to the Sales Tax Project Fund.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes.
That was a really big memo.
Thank
so
you,
that was-
Jared.
Thanks, Jared.
You did a good job.
And then the explanation was really nice, yeah, thank you.
Item E, the governing body is asked to consider and approve the second half 2021 semi-annual report for the Community Development Block Grant Revolving Loan Fund on behalf of Great Plains Development,
Oh,
Inc.
we
Do
need
you want to get
we need
Commissioner
bring,
Ortiz, or does he
Oh, yeah.
need to be? It's lonely on this side of the tables.
He might have actually fallen asleep on the couch.
I hope.
That was,
He's probably.
Is that what he was planning on doing?
all right. I think we're,
Item E, the governing body is asked to consider and approve the second half 2021 semi-annual report for the Community Development Block Grant Revolving Loan Fund on behalf of Great Plains Development, Inc. And I'll draw your attention to the handout on the bench, and I will try to call up that document as well. It's different than the one in the packet. So this is the correct numbers on this front page, right, Celine?
Correct.
Jared?
Yep.
Okay, Jared, take it away.
Yeah, so the Community Development Block Grant Program is a flexible program that provides communities with resources to address a wide range of unique community development needs. Great Plains Development manages those accounts for the city of Garden City and is required to send a semi-annual report to the Kansas Department of Commerce. So this report we review mid-year and at the end of the year. And so, like Matt mentioned, this page was incorrect on the report that was initially included in the packet. It was the final document or the summary document from our mid-year report in June. So these numbers are updated, so I just draw your attention to the fact that all the balances are higher since we've had another 6 months of collection on these funds, on these block grants. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have this time.
I'll make a motion that we approve the semi-annual report for the period ending December 31st, 2021 with the updates that we received.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All opposed? That passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jared.
Item F, the governing body is asked to consider and approve the purchase of an advanced design shelving system for the Garden City Police Department Evidence Building from Sistec Group LLC in the amount of $67,114.85. The city staff has identified in 2020 a desired shelving system for the new evidence building and received a quote from a single bidder for the system in the amount of $55,800. As the development of the procurement, design, and construction of the new municipal court and evidence building developed, this purchase was not included in the base construction budget. In early 2021, and in consultation with city administrative staff, GCPD identified available department resources that could be made available to cover the project cost. The new cost proposal reflected an increase to $67,114.85. The evidence filing system was ordered and it was installed in January 2022. The project cost was above $50,000 and the purchase was going to be proposed as a sole source vendor purchase. Therefore, while available resources were identified, the request did not go through the proper approval channels prior to order and installation, which in this case would have been to have the City Commission approve the purchase in advance of it being ordered and installed. The action before the City Commission today is twofold. First, we are self-reporting the failure to follow the proper steps in the proper order. And second, staff is asking the City Commission to approve the purchase and payment of the attached invoice, albeit after the system was ordered and installed. The original quote was under a different corporate name, but honored by the company in the transition to the new corporate name. So if you'll notice, the sales person's the same, and most of the invoice looks the same other than the different corporate name. So your alternatives are to approve the purchase of the evidence building shelving system for $67,114.85, or do not approve the purchase of the evidence building shelving system, and we can figure out what that means. No surprise, we would recommend approval and apologize for not doing this correctly.
I'll make the motion, we approve the purchase of the evidence building shelving system.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All opposed? That passes.
Thank you. I think we're ready for the consent agenda, and if there aren't any items that you'd like to pull off and discuss separately, then they would be items G1 through 6.
Right. I move that we approve consent agenda items G1 through G6.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes.
Okay, commission reports.
All right, Commissioner Under.
So I really appreciated seeing the advanced diagrams of the fire station. I'm really excited about including history. That's, I think, such an important part of our history. The work that's went into the fire station and the combined EMS has been tremendous. I had not realized that there were so many iterations of it, and I can't remember the notes starting back to 2000, whenever. So I think it's really exciting that we, as a city, are moving now to the point where we have a third fire station actually on the drawing board and near completion where it can get put out to bid. I really appreciate the thought that's went into this, and also the cooperation between not only the fire department and EMS, but also the city and the county, because this is another one of those joint projects that I think there'd been a lot of things that had to be worked out. I really appreciate the use of the land and just the thoughtfulness of how this is really going to benefit our city. And I never thought about the airport being an added benefit, so with that. I have been out running trails and really enjoying our local zoo, and also the Tally Trail and the Pioneer Trail. And I really appreciate just the work that's done on those, even during some of the snow events, that they were clearing those trails Now, it was too cold to do a lot of things, but it still was really nice to have safe places to walk. I know I see a lot of, during nicer weather, people walking to the high school or up north. I didn't realize how many people still use those kind of things, but have been able to take advantage of several of our parks. I just want to say thank you to the Parks Department and the maintenance people for really keeping those clean. I did forget to report, there was a sign that was hanging off of the Tally Trail at 3rd Street, and I was going to call that in. It was one of the pedestrian signs. I had lost a bolt and forgot that. As always, but anyway, I just wanted to say thank you. And also, I think the flashing crossings really make a difference. And so I'm excited they make a difference. And so I'm excited about what's about to happen at Campus Drive. And thanks for all the work that we're doing and really bringing our community more safe, making it more safe, especially for not only cars, but also for pedestrians and bikers and those kind of things. So I really appreciate this, all that's going on in our city. That's it.
Commissioner Cessna?
Yeah, I like the pre-meeting and the drawings of the new fire station. It's great to see that we're moving forward on that and fulfilling the 2017 tax initiatives. Got me to thinking about the McGrath group study and, you know, getting kind of a follow-up on where we were at, kind of like what we did when we were had the police department. If we could get something along those lines.
Yeah, we have a pre-meeting in March dedicated to that.
Sounds good. And then the annual airport report, the report of the annual well, it was nice to see that, you know, the employments were at a record. I think it's going to be great, and everybody's really excited and anticipating the start of the construction of the new terminal. And I was talking a little bit about, you know, as we expand the terminal and start looking at, you know, more jet service and that type of thing, the addition of, you know, maybe a new ARF truck, because the CFR5 is, you know, pretty dated, and, you know, looking at those types of things to truly keep our airport, or make it a regional airport that stays competitive in the state. That's all I've got.
All right. Commissioner Ortiz?
Yeah, pre-meeting was good just to hear about the fire station and what's to come. So really looking forward to that. Also, I'd like to just say, sports-wise going on right now, I know there was a Super Bowl just ended. And not, you know, if you had squares, probably didn't go the way you wanted it to, but then Valentine's yesterday. There's just been a lot of things going on and a lot of excitement. So, but sports as well, I mean, just in our community, if you go out to the high school, there's basketball going on, and they need a lot of support. You know, there's people that go, but I think we can encourage people to go and just support our teams locally. The Garden City Community College has some great basketball games. If you have not gone, I encourage you to go to that if you want to just yell and scream at the top of your lungs and have a sore throat the next day. Those have been really exciting games for us to be winning by like 2 and maybe 1 sometimes. It's just really great atmosphere, and to just, you know, hear the president of the college yelling at the refs too, kind of make that call, ref. I mean, it's exciting just to hear people around you kind of cheer and hoot and holler. So I encourage you just to go out and watch the teams. They've been awesome, and the leadership from the coaches that are there. They've been awesome in just leading those kids to do good in the community. And so I think it's only fair just to get to know those kids on a personal level, just to show them what Garden City is about. So get out there and support local teams. I also had the privilege of going to the Groundhog Supper in Deerfield, which they served about 1,100 people.
Goodness.
It was great. I had all the sausage I could eat, and I'm still full from that Wednesday that it happened just recently. So KH had a dance. I was able to chauffeur at that. So if you see dance videos of me on there, it was because those kids were so hyped up on getting, you know, engaging with each other and having that relationship with, you know, socializing and things like that. So I see things just really coming out and being exciting here in Garden City. So kudos to those teachers on putting those events together. Staff, what an amazing job that we still do as a city staff. So thanks to all that hard work that you guys do as well. So I think that's it.
Commissioner Euler?
Well, first of all, I'd like to congratulate Danielle and Derek for being named our new assistant city managers. That's excellent. I mean, we had such qualified candidates, and it was really nice to be able to see that quality applying here in Garden City. And so I'm looking forward to what, they bring to the city staff as well. Also enjoyed the pre-meeting. I was visiting with Chief Ursick and Luke Freeman afterwards, and talking about what a great recruiting tool this fire station will be, not just for firefighters, but also as people come into the community. I mean, they'll be able to look at this building as, just the testament to what this city does for safety for its citizens. And so I'm really looking forward to it. And so good job to everybody who's helped with the planning and that. I attended the Tet celebration on February 6th. That's also an amazing opportunity to get to see, our Vietnamese culture here in Garden City, and just how appreciative they are of the fact that they're here, and what that means to them, and what that means just for us as a community to be able to welcome and celebrate with them. And so it was really enjoyable. Enjoyed the mayor's welcome as well. And so that's all I have.
Thank you. And then finally, like Commissioner Oler said, welcome Danielle and Derek to our team. They're very highly qualified. Really excited about having them here. And like Commissioner Oler said, we had some really, really good candidates. That whole slate that we brought in was top notch. So that's good to see, and it's exciting going forward. The other thing that only Commissioner Oler said, I guess I should have went ahead of you, is I went to the Tet celebration. And if you want to talk about a celebration that is the most American celebration you can have, it is that one. They honored military service on both the American side and the Vietnamese side from the Vietnam War. Talked about like longevity and family bonds, being proud of being able to work in Garden City, the freedoms that they have here. They were just super excited about being in America, and very thankful for being in Garden City. And like I was saying, I got up and gave a speech, and a couple people gave up to talk with them all, but the loudest clap that they gave of all the people that came up, the chiefs and city commissioners and all those different people, the loudest round of applause that they gave on the people standing up there was the plant manager at Tyson.
Yep.
So that goes to show you how much they appreciate some of the opportunities that they have here. So I really encourage everybody to go next year if you have the ability to go. They're celebrating their culture, but it makes you proud to be an American at the same time. So with that, I believe we are done. Thank you.
Safety Award.